Hello and welcome to the Pig and Whistle Tales from Azeroth. As always, here at the Pig and Whistle Inn in Stormwind, I go for a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. So grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. This midweek episode, we're going to be going over Rate My Dungeon. More specifically, we're going to be looking at Underbog as well as Steamvaults, two dungeons that are located both in Zangarmarsh, one being one of the higher level TBC instances, and one of them being the kind of on the lower end of Burning Crusade. So, firstly, Underbog is the lower of the two. It does obviously have a heroic mode, both of them do, and we're going to be mainly looking at the heroic version. Although I do have something to say about the normal version, that it is one of the more enjoyable normal modes in the game. Like, as you're leveling through TBC, it's actually an enjoyable instance, in my opinion. There is a lot of trash packs, there's a lot of up and down, there's a lot of like XP essentially to be gathered in there, as well as a couple quests that can be utilized or that can be picked up and completed in this instance. So yeah, Underbog is very, very good for leveling purposes. But how does it hold up in heroic? Essentially, you're looking at another dungeon that you just want to do the daily for. You're not looking to go in there for specific loot. You can maybe get one or two pieces, such as a wand from the last boss or some legs maybe for some physical damage, but you're not looking at too much crazy loot in this instance. It's a very solid instance, but it is a very simple instance as well, as there is kind of no... It's kind of linear, but there is like some pathways that you can go to clear some extra mobs, get some extra XP, etc. So it's not like you're just being funneled down this line. There is a bit of diversity to it, but there is only one way to get to the end, which is a bit annoying because you will always be funneled into that path towards the end. There is literally no other way to do it. But yeah, the gear in there is kind of meh. It's not great. Leveling wise, as you're leveling, it's actually quite decent, but for the most part, max level, you're not looking at much in that instance. You've definitely got a lot of other things that you can prioritize first before going into this, as like, I need one last piece, I need like a wand or something for it. It didn't get a revamp in Cataclysm, as all of the other BC Burning Crusade dungeons. On a whole, I would have to give it a 5 out of 10. The 5 mainly comes from the normal mode, because the normal mode is actually quite enjoyable because of the amount of XP that you get, because of the different types of mobs that are in the dungeon. Heroic, you can have mobs that hit really hard, and Spell Reflect and Fear and Mana Burn and stuff like that. So it's kind of annoying when you pull more than just like one pack. But essentially, yeah, when you're leveling, it is very, very enjoyable. Actually a very enjoyable instance, purely on the amount of XP you get for it. Steamvaults, on the other hand, is the higher level of the Zangarmarsh dungeons. I think there's a higher level dungeon in each of the zones. There's one in Terakar Forest for Arkandoon, there's one in Zangarmarsh, there's one in Hellfire Peninsula, you know, the lower level zones. There's no dungeon in Nagrand, actually. That just came my mind. But anyways, yeah, Steamvaults. It's very linear compared to Underbog. There is, again, only a couple things that you can do to switch it up in terms of which packs you pull, but essentially, it's very linear. It's not too fun or enjoyable. But the weird thing is, I enjoyed it more than Underbog, and I don't quite know how to explain that. It's just because when I was doing Steamvaults, it was a means to an end. It was to do Karazhan attunement. It was to get good pieces of gear. Actually, good pieces of gear. This is from both normal and heroic versions that you could get very good pieces of gear. This is a dungeon that was constantly ran for that purpose. So that's probably why I have better thoughts on it. Leveling wise, it's Underbog all day. Mainly because if you're looking at Steamvaults, you're looking at, you know, you're level 69, 68, 70, anything in them. So you wouldn't be getting much XP from dungeons. It's easier just to quest. You're more there for the gearing purposes. But yeah, Steamvaults I actually really did enjoy it because it was a very short dungeon and you got a lot of gear from it. So anything that is a short dungeon at max level content is very good in my opinion, because it means that you can just get gear very quickly and rerun this content like every time. It wasn't like a real slugfest, kind of like Shattered Halls, where you had to go all the way to the end, this long dungeon that took possibly like 40 to an hour, like long. Steamvaults you can do in about 20 minutes, 15 if you're really like proficient. Yeah, about that. The normal version again was ran purely for gear. I know a lot of hunters that just ran it constantly because Beast Lord set dropped from it, and that was their best in slot for practically phase 1 and going into phase 2, going into Serpent Shrine Cavern and stuff, because it was just so good. So I ran this a lot with a lot of hunters looking for that gear, so there wasn't much competition for me in terms of caster gear being taken. Also, it was a very good reputation farm for those who did the Cenarion rep, and you can get a mount from that. You can get arrows from it if you're a hunter, stuff like that. It was good. Yeah, the gear was very, very good. Some of the best that you could get at end level content in Burning Crusade, so definitely no complaints there. No revamp as usual, and I would honestly, it sounds weird that it wasn't as enjoyable as Underbog, but it was at the same time. So I would give this a 7 out of 10. And that is purely on the basis of gearing, the amount of gear that you could get and the quality of it, plus how long it took to actually get it. If it takes an hour to do the entire instance, yeah, I'll just find another way, another piece of gear. If it takes 20 minutes, however, I can fit 3 of these instances, 3 of the same dungeons in one, like, Shattered Halls or something. So it's a lot more worthwhile to go in there, get the gear, and you're constantly gearing up. It's not like you're waiting loads of time to get one piece, are you? If you do 3 runs of Shattered Halls Heroic and get one piece of gear, you've spent 3 hours getting one piece, whereas you spend 1 hour getting one piece in the same amount of time, like, because you do 3 instances of Steamvaults, if that makes sense. So it feels like you're getting more gear per time that you spent, or per time that you put in. It just feels a lot more rewarding, essentially. Plus, you, like I said, you obviously have the quests there for Karazhan, so you're having to go in there anyway. You kind of just have to suck it up. And if you don't enjoy it, then it's kind of one of them things where it can kill your vibe or the fun of World of Warcraft very quickly, in my opinion. But that is it for this week's episode. Thank you all very much for listening. Do check out the podcast. Got the podcast? That's what you're doing, right? Do check out the Patreon, as well as Twitch and YouTube. Constant stuff happening over there. Be sure to check out the Twitch stream later tonight. After this episode goes live, it will be... oh, God. We're on daylight savings now in the UK. That will be 8 or 7 BST. We're now British summertime. Yes, 7 BST. That is 6 CET for those in Europe. But yeah, thank you all very much once again, and go with Valor, friend. Goodbye all.